Hey everybody, Bishop here from Mental Flog. Long time no hear from, I know. What you are about to hear is the lost episode. This was recorded on December 26th of 2022. In this episode, Jeff goes over AJ's natal chart. This was our very first meeting, the very first time we were all in the same room together. It's kind of an interesting listen. This episode took a lot longer to edit, so it never got aired as the bonus episode it was intended for. But with the launch of Season 2 getting closer and closer, we figured you guys would enjoy some content. Just so you know, we have a new phone number for this year. That phone number is 801-810-7502. Just like usual, you can leave us a voicemail on that number, or you can even shoot us a text message if you have a listener question. This upcoming season is Season of the Fool. We're going to talk about love, relationships, dating, getting over trauma, attachment styles, a whole bunch of different things, and we're really excited for it. We look forward to some listener questions and text messages, and you'll be hearing the season trailer quite soon. Thank you, and enjoy this episode. Hello, everybody. It is the day after Christmas, and we are here in my house in the kitchen, and I have Jeff over here. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi.
And we have AJ joining us.
I'm finally here.
So today, we're going to get a little spooky. Jeff, are you ready to get weird?
Oh, always. Weird is what I do. It is who I am.
So before we get into the weirdness and the spookiness, we're going to talk about Jeff being an abomination, okay?
All right. I'm interested to hear this.
So I had a friend who was talking to me about tarot cards, and she asked me, like, what do you feel when you hold tarot cards? Because I feel them, and I kind of almost feel a sense of evil. To which my response is, tarot cards are just what, Jeff?
But the meme about how they say tarot cards is the pathway to Satan, but the reality is that tarot cards is just the pathway to more tarot cards.
Well, that is true, but physically, what are they?
What are they?
Yeah.
Well, it's just a tool for self-reflection.
Made out of?
Made out of paper.
Exactly. Have you ever felt evil tarot cards?
No, I felt evil tarot readers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I've gotten tarot readings before where the person sitting across the table from me has straight up said, you need to stop operating with the morality of a man and operate with the morality of a wizard, and there are people who have wronged you that need to be cursed. I'm like, hard pass on that one, bro.
Well, if the tarot cards are evil and they are paper, doesn't that mean the trees are evil?
I mean, it's logic. So I was curious about this. My response, to her was basically, well, tarot cards at the end of the day are cardboard with artwork on them. I mean, they don't really have a good or bad energy. It's how you use them.
Yeah.
But I was curious, and I Googled, can Mormons use tarot cards? And I'm pretty sure any of us who have been around the LDS Church or raised LDS know the answer would probably be no, which is true. This article was very interesting, and part of it is the church handbook has very little to say on the matter. In fact, all that comes close to the following definition and warning is the occult focuses on darkness and leads to deception. It destroys faith in Christ. The occult includes Satan worship. It also includes mystical activities that are not in harmony with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Such activities include, but are not limited to, fortune-telling, curses, and healing practices that are imitations of the priesthood power of God. So I find it very interesting that they lump the occult into so many different and fascinating studies of subject, because as somebody who is learning more personally about reading tarot cards, holy shit, there's a lot of different aspects to learn and different things that are entwined with it.
Oh, yeah.
To phrase everything like that into one sentence and statement kind of boggles the mind. So it goes on to say that, church members should not engage in any form of Satan worship or practice in any way with the occult. They should not focus on such darknesses in conversations or in church meetings. The scriptures get a little more dark about this. So it says in Deuteronomy 18:10-12, it clearly precludes the involvement with psychics, mediums, or forms of sorcery. And there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, Jeff,
Oh,
or a necromancer, for all of these things are an abomination unto the Lord. Emphasis added on abomination. And it goes on to say that, they shall be as stubble, and the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of flame. So we're all going to burn, y'all. Just want to let you know.
I'm so scared.
well, to that I say, hey, that's your God. You go to your hell. You burn in your own hell.
Pretty much.
So what level of abomination are we doing today, Jeff?
Oh, I'm pretty sure this is high level abomination. This we're doing a natal chart reading.
You want to tell us a little bit more about that, AJ? What questions do you have about that?
Who am I? Where am I going? Where did I come from?
And can families really be together forever?
Yeah, true. That's true. Please, no, because, I don't want to be together with my first ex-wife.
Well, the practice of natal chart readings goes back to, as far as we know, ancient Babylon likely existed before that. So, but the best way to describe this is, I think everybody is familiar with astrology to a basic extent, as far as knowing what their sun sign is. Like,
Yes.
okay, you know what your sign is, right?
Gemini, yes.
So you're a Gemini, but did you know that you have like a moon sign and a rising sign and a different sign associated with all of the different planets in our solar system that correlates to a different aspect of your personality and the makeup of who you are?
I had no clue.
So and this is where we go into, because it's a complicated thing, but this here, what I'm showing you this is your natal chart. Yeah, I see the look on your face. You're just like, what the fuck is that?
Looks like a bunch of scribbles.
Well, this here, if you know how to read this is basically a blueprint as to, this is the sky,
Okay.
the exact moment when you were born. And the best way that I can describe this is, what you're looking at this is basically a clock. This over here, this is kind of the horizon. And we, instead of going over the different signs to begin with, I'll go over the different houses, because the houses are basically the hours on the clock. So your rising sign, so you're a Cancer rising. So your rising is going to be, when people meet you, the impression that they get.
Okay.
It's your sun sign is your core values. It's who you are, like, at your core, what really motivates you. But the rising sign is what people see, how you're perceived. So as a Cancer rising, so the Gemini aspects that are core to your personality, people don't see that. They look at you and they peg you as, this is somebody who's probably a little bit emotional. This is somebody who's a little bit guarded. He's a little bit like of a tough nut to crack, and he probably puts on a little bit of bravado to try to hide some insecurities.
Yes, very much so. And that's why I was a lot scared to come here today for this, was because people are going to see a different side of me that they're not used to seeing or hearing. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, at your core, that with Geminis are multifaceted. And this is ultimately where we come in with people saying, well, Geminis are two-faced, they're shifty, they're untrustworthy. That's not typically the case for somebody who's a well-balanced Gemini who has a good moral compass. Thing is that they're malleable, they're adaptable. They can be thrown into any social situation, and they can change things up as needed to, you throw a well-balanced Gemini into any social situation, they'll be able to leave the room telling you something about everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So, and that's ultimately, the key there. You said something earlier about how you've learned everything in life is about communication. Geminis are ruled by the planet Mercury, which is the planet of communication.
Well, back in high school, I didn't exactly belong to any certain clique. I could go from this clique to that clique to this clique to that clique. I just could fit in pretty much anywhere and just talk to anybody.
Yeah, and that's a very Gemini trait. It's you can throw you into any situation, and you'll be able to adapt. You'll be able to talk to the people on their level, and this is why you'll find Geminis, they're usually really good in sales situations and things like that. They're able to find ways to change things up, to communicate and connect with just about anybody that they meet.
Yeah.
So that's where you are at your core. But like rising, the way that people perceive you when they first meet you is they see you as emotionally guarded, as a little bit vulnerable, and possibly a little bit tough, a little bit hot-headed if they scratch that surface a little bit too much.
I actually had an ex-girlfriend that I met online, and she would tell me that if she had have met me walking down the street, she would have crossed the street and gone the other way because I was just the way I look in person, the way I perceive myself. I don't smile when I walk down the road. I don't smile when I'm doing things. I just frown and I'm like, I have that look of anger, I guess. I don't know.
I had a friend one time that said it is the resting scowl
Yeah.
of a true man, where it's how you can tell that a man has truly ascended into manhood. It's when you've gone through those trials and tribulations in life, and you just look at somebody and you can see, like what he called it, the resting scowl, where that's a man who's lived some life. That's a man that's had his heartaches and his disappointments.
Yeah. So
And that's a man who has truly had to step into maturity and accept the world as it is.
yes,
So-
yes,
So we've just, but we're just scratching the surface of I was talking about the clock a little bit. So that ascending, that rising sign, that Cancer, that's on the first house. And this is the first 6 houses on the clock are everything that's below the surface of the horizon on the sky when you were born.
okay,
And then each one of these houses represents a different stage of life. So that first house, house number 1, right there, like on the start of the horizon, that is self-perception. This is entirely the, who am I? How am I perceived? Now, as we go into the second house, like the second stage of development, is the what truly belongs to me. Like, what is mine? It is kind of that primal preservation, like, I need resources to survive stage. Now, this is interesting because I've noticed you've got a couple of, it's the inner planets are the ones that are going to affect you the most. And both your Venus and your moon are in the second house. So, and both of those are in Leo. So there's a lot of pride going on here. You've got like a hidden lion. And that lion is what controls your emotions, and this also kind of controls like how you want your relationships to be and how you idealize love and relationships. And with that, it's being in the second house, there is a little bit of that sense of ownership. It's loyalty is going to be a very big thing to you, in relationships in particular.
I can be very loyal to a fault. I will accept people over and over and take their bullshit over and over and still be loyal to them, even though I know I shouldn't be, and everybody else is around me is like, why are you still talking to this person when they can totally ruin you?
Well, and with that, it's that lion, it's that pride.
Yeah.
It's like there is a sense of pride that's associated with your, not just your romantic relationships, but just with your relationships in general. And with that, you step to the plate with that level of vulnerability, with that level, with that level of pride in mind, being like, I will give you my loyalty. That second house, like everything that I have, I will share with you. I just expect that same level of respect, that same level of loyalty and gratitude more than anything else. Like gratitude. If you are in a relationship with somebody who doesn't have a basic sense of gratitude, not just for you, but for life in general, like you wouldn't do good in a relationship with anybody who's just a negative mindset, who just complains about everything all the time.
No. That was my first ex-wife and somewhat my second ex-wife, just I want to give and be given back. I want to, if I'm going to give to you, you need to give back to me. We need to share. We need to express ourselves evenly. And, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's reciprocity. But with that, with both your moon and your Venus being in that second house, are you familiar with the 5 love languages?
Yes.
Like, I would venture to guess that acts of service and gifts are probably your top love languages.
Actually, no.
Interesting.
My top ones are physical touch. What's the other ones?
Quality time.
Quality time, physical touch, and it was a tie between that and
Words of affirmation.
words of affirmation. Yes.
I was wrong.
And maybe I need to go back and actually be honest with that test. Maybe I wasn't honest enough with that test. And maybe I should go back because every time I've done it, it's been those three.
Ironically, I mean, we as humans change through life. All of us are not the same people we were 10 years ago today. Over time, your results and what's more meaningful to you will also change.
Yeah.
And it's true with anything from the five languages to, like, the BDSM.org test.
Yeah.
So I just want to interject here for a minute. So Jeff and AJ, I mean, honestly, myself and AJ, we've never physically met until today. And we've started this episode within 15 to 20 minutes of AJ arriving. AJ, so far what he's telling you, how close does it jive to what you believe to be true about yourself?
A whole lot. It's
kinda crazy,
yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
Yes.
The first time Jeff did my natal chart for me, it was the same experience. I was much more appreciative that I learned it later on in life and that it jived with who I was versus learning it younger and trying to follow the pattern of it. But it really is a mind trip to see that there is something to this.
Well, it brings me to something that I was going to say in the next episode that we're going to do. It kind of sounds like, okay, my mom always said that right from the beginning, I was broken. There was something about me she couldn't figure out. I was different than my siblings. I was broken. My whole life, I was broken. I was born June 14th, 1975. June 17th, 1975, when I came home from the hospital in Salt Lake, it snowed. So my life was going to be crazy. So it just sounds like what you're saying there, that's exactly what my mom saw.
So I think now when I was studying, there's different branches of psychology, but cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah, it's entirely about changing mindsets to situations. It kind of goes hand in hand a lot with the philosophies of Stoicism, I believe, which that's something I've been getting more and more into. It's the whole, you can't necessarily control what the universe does to you. You can control how you choose to react to the situation. But two fundamental rules in cognitive behavioral therapy, and that is A, nobody is truly broken. That, and most people do not operate with bad intentions.
Something I learned later on in life that I find out that I can't think of what it is, but you're opposite of somebody who tries to be controlling. You know what I mean?
You're overgiving, you're over people pleasing.
No, I can't remember the name of it.
It's not a nihilist, is it?
No. Where I feel what others feel.
Empath.
Empath.
You're an
Yes,
empath.
thank you. I don't know why I had a brain part on that. It goes to show I learned just a few years ago that I'm an empath, and that's probably why my mom saw me as broken and different, is because I was different. And she didn't know how to control me, so I was broken, according to her. And Jeff's looking confused.
Well, not necessarily. I was just like, okay, is it my turn to interject, or
It's your turn, Jeff.
So, but yeah, with that, you're not broken. So yeah, you probably see things a little bit of a different way. This is the conversation that we had earlier when we were just bantering about traffic
Yeah.
and how a lot of people just don't have that sense of awareness about their surroundings.
Yes.
This is, and ultimately, as an empath, this is just the difference between that and you. It's a lot of people, they just go about their lives in this bubble. They don't pay attention to what they're doing, how it impacts the people around them, or even what's going on around them. Whereas an empath, they tend to be opposite a lot of times, where we're hyper-focused on what's going on around us, the people around us. But sometimes we can lack that self-awareness
Yes.
and what's going on internally and not fully understanding what's going on internally.
It's, I don't know, it's my years and years of driving truck and being on my own, and I've had to pay attention to what's everything around me, not just what's in front of me, not what's it's just everything, side, front, back, everything. I've got to pay attention because something could come out and get me. Something somewhere could come cause trouble, or
No, what you said there, I mean, I'm not going to scratch the surface too much, but there are keywords that you're giving me that tells me that this is something that goes back further than just driving truck. Like, I would say there's likely some childhood trauma going on there, but yeah, you go into a situation, you have to be like hyper aware, because likely you grew up in a situation where you had to be aware of other people's emotional states.
Yeah.
You had to know, like, okay, this person's coming into the situation, like, how is their body language right now? What do I need to be prepared for? Do I need to defend myself? Like, you likely kind of go into, when you walk into a room, one of the first things you're going to be doing is you're going to be ascertaining, like, where are the exits if I need to find a way out.
yes,
Like, so, we won't dig into that too much. You tell me, like, if I'm right or if I'm wrong there, but it sounds like there's some
Yes,
deep-seated childhood things that play into that, which is typically the case with a lot of people that are highly empathic.
Yes.
I personally believe that empathy for a lot of people is empathy is a learned trait.
it can be.
Like, well, like I said, I could be right, I could be wrong, but I think empathy is something that people can learn. And unfortunately, for a lot of people that are highly empathic, they learn it through trauma.
Yeah, and I started off with trauma from a young age, and I don't know if I was born with it or if I wasn't born with it, but I finally learned what it meant when my mother would say I'm broken, and I'm not broken. I'm who I am. I'm
Yeah.
proud to be who I am. But for many, many years, my mom would say over and over, "Yo, you're just broken. You're just broken. You're different." And I'm like, okay. And I finally figured out what it was.
What?
I guess we're looking at you. Like, do you have any words of wisdom to interject?
I have come to hate the term broken because I, for too long, self identified as broken, and it didn't really serve me any purpose other than to allow me to wallow in my misery.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. So I'd say in general, I think these are, it's the whole, like, as a man thinketh, so is he. So there is a lot of, I guess that would be the big challenge that I would give to anybody. Like those of us sitting here at the table, anybody listening, really pay attention to the words that you tell yourself, the things that you say about yourself. Because, like, even if you're just, like, in jest, like, oh, geez, like, I'm just a screw up, I'm an idiot, or whatnot. Like, the more that you repeat those things, the more that your subconscious internalizes them. And this begins to be your reality.
Believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will.
Yep.
Negativity breeds negativity.
Yep. Or as, RuPaul once so famously said, like, you got to learn to love yourself because, like, you can't love yourself. How the hell are you going to love anybody else?
Exactly. Yes.
True words, RuPaul, true words. If anybody is looking for some self-guided help in this self-talk category, some Gary John Bishop is some powerful reading. I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh, yeah. But I think, a lot of, because I've been listening to a lot of Gary John Bishop lately. This goes hand in hand with a lot of the things that he talks about. It all comes back to this philosophy of Stoicism. It's the whole, you can't necessarily control what happens to you, but you can choose how you choose to respond to it. And you can choose what kind of person you're going to be, like what you're going to do, how you're going to move forward. And you can either choose to mold yourself and become the person that you want to be, or you can allow yourself to become the product of your circumstances.
Yes. Exactly. You live your life for you. You don't live your life because of what people want you to be. If you live your life for the way people want you to be, you're going to be down in the gutter with them stomping on you your whole life, because you're not going to stand up for yourself and believe in who you are, because they want to be better than you.
Oh, exactly. But it's not always about other people and what other people do to us.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the first step to change, and I know there's a lot of people that will listen to this and they'll be like, well, what about things like, anxiety and depression and these, these things that we can't necessarily control. See, like, yeah, these are real things, but these are things that, yeah, you can't change the fact that you have this, that this is a response that you have, but you can change how you choose to approach this. You can change seeking help for this. You can change doing the research and figuring out ways to, and one of the things that I keep coming across is how it's all related to basic chemistry, like cortisol levels.
Yeah.
Cortisol levels more than anything else. Like if you're in that state of like constant anxiety, depression or whatnot, it's hard to dig yourself out. Like you're not going to be able to like meditate or like, affirm your way out of this. Like, but if you can find a way to bring those cortisol levels down, then this will be one of the first things to change the brain chemistry to be able to start making those positive movements forward. And first thing that you can do, like, doesn't, no matter like how tired, depressed, anxious you are, once those cortisol levels are elevated, if you find yourself in that rut, first thing that you can do to get that down, to make that first step forward is get moving.
Well, and I've grown up my whole life being told that I'm depressed. I'm clinically depressed and I've got this and I've got that. But I never realized that I suffered from anxiety, but depression and anxiety are two of the pretty much the same things, but then they split off, and one's one way and one's the other way. And I've learned over the last few years that I've got to, if I'm feeling down on myself, I've got to channel my anxiety, bring my anxiety down, and then I can bring my depression down, and they can be the same again. But if I don't do anything about my anxiety, my depression's going to still rule.
Yeah, and we're talking about like basic physiology here. Some of the interesting things that I've been studying as far as getting those chemicals under control, or at least shocking the system enough to be able to view things from a more rational perspective, to be able to make the changes to start making the changes that you need. And say with one of the things there is, they say anxiety, cold water, a cold shower that helps shock the system to bring that down. And depression, like a hot shower. And it's just a matter of like shocking the system to bring those cortisol levels down. But what you were saying about them being kind of opposite sides of the same coin, I think Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, like 2000 BC probably said it best in regards to that, where he says, if you are stuck living in the past, you're going to have depression. If you're too focused on what's going to happen in the future, then you're going to be anxious. And the key is to try to be present and in the moment.
Yes. Live for the now, step by step.
So we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there.
Sorry.
But hey, this is what this podcast is all about.
This is what this bonus episode's for. This is a great moment between three men.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all about mental health and getting on top of our shit and owning our shit. And tarot cards, natal charts, things of that nature. These are just another tool for self-reflection, for self-awareness. But we do have an interesting thing going on. Now we're talking about your natal chart. Natal charts are just one part of astrology.
Yes.
So you have the natal charts, then second biggest thing you're probably going to hear about is transit astrology. And this is basically, it's like a weather prediction.
Okay.
It's more of an emotional weather prediction or a mob psychology prediction. And we are heading into one of the most feared things. This is basically like hurricane season in astrology. And that is on the 29th, we're going into another Mercury retrograde.
That part I've tried to understand, and it's hard to understand what the heck a retrograde is and this and that. And I'm all ears.
So, man, I always hate it when Mercury's in reverse cowgirl again.
Okay, so understanding what retrograde is that just basic astronomy, not astrology, but we know how like the planets all revolve around the sun at different speeds. So if you look at that as kind of like cars on the freeway, like all of these cars are like in different lanes, but they're all going their different speeds. Now, even though they're all moving forward because they're all going different speeds, there's going to be different times at which the Earth in its lane is going past these planets, and these planets appear to be moving backwards because of the speed at which they're going, the velocity at which they're going. And those times in which it appears that Earth is going faster than that planet, or that planet seems to be moving backwards, that's what we call a retrograde.
Okay. And I've understood that to where now things just feel like they're out of whack. And this is what I've learned over the last couple of years. Just things feel like they're out of whack. You just feel like there's something missing, something wrong, and you just can't. It's on the tip of your finger, and you just can't figure it out.
Exactly. And with that, it's each one of these planets, each one of these, heavenly bodies, I guess. It's like some of these that we track aren't technically considered planets according to NASA, but they all represent different personality aspects, different emotional aspects. And Mercury in particular is the planet of communication.
Okay.
And this is why Mercury retrogrades are so feared, because it is all about communication breakdowns. And because Mercury is the fastest moving planet, it goes into retrograde more often than any other planets. And with that, the retrogrades tend to be shorter than the other planets, because a Mercury retrograde usually lasts 3 weeks. But because they happen so common, and because it is affects something that is key to everything, communication is key to everything. It represents communication breakdowns. And the sign that the planet is in kind of shows you where those communication breakdowns are going to be happening. Now, the sign that Mercury is in, where the retrograde is going to be happening, is Capricorn.
Okay.
Now, interesting thing is that Capricorn is thought to be the sign of hard work. Capricorns are usually very disciplined, very task focused, they have to have their project. They have, it's the goat. They have to have their mountain to climb. They can be hyper fixated. They can be very anal retentive. They can be a bit serious. They tend to have a very dry, dark sense of humor sometimes. But each sign has their thing that they're on this planet to do. And Capricorns, they are the workers. They are here to do the work.
Yeah.
So it is everybody's work life that's going to be disrupted with this. And we see this, a way that I see this playing out is I read an article recently that's talking about how they're saying everybody this year has had to wait to do their Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
And we have the 3 days before Christmas and the day after Christmas that make up for 40% of all holiday shopping. And they're saying because of inflation and things like that going on, there's a lot of people that have had to delay their Christmas shopping till they got their Christmas bonuses, or have to shove all of their Christmas shopping onto the check before. Now, what's going to happen? December 29th is when Mercury goes retrograde. By the time that this episode is released, we're probably going to be right in the thick of this Mercury retrograde. And this is probably going to be when all the analysts are coming back. Everybody's going to be looking at the financial numbers, and everybody's going to be going, none of the companies made anywhere near the money that they were expecting to make.
They never do.
This Christmas season. And I hate to be a doomsayer or whatnot, but I'm saying people need to button down the hatches. Best advice that I can give to everybody right now is make sure you've got your resume updated and solidified.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, but with that, this is going to be key focus. So this is one of the areas that I thought we would kind of look into your natal chart.
Okay.
So, one of the things that people don't focus on so much is the North Node and the South Node. And I like to look into this because this is ultimately where you came from and what your destiny is supposed to be.
Okay.
So, your North Node is in Scorpio.
Okay.
And it's in the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is entirely the house of, this is where it can be seen as kind of a hedonistic house. This is all about fun, leisure. This is also the house of children and that childlike innocence and pleasure and things like that. Now, with that being in Scorpio, your destiny, it's it should be kind of learning how to embrace those simple pleasures. What what truly makes you happy and what truly brings you joy. Now, with the three different water signs, water is all about emotions. And with the Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, the way that they handle those emotions is kind of drawn out by the imagery of the sign itself.
Okay.
Pisces, the fish, they are very kind of ethereal, kind of lofty, kind of like in a dream world a little bit.
What are you trying to say about me?
I'm saying when things get rough, you like can implode and dissociate and try not to deal with the situation.
Why you got to call me out like that, bro?
Like Cancer, the crab, they have that thick thick suit of armor on. They'll have a tendency to internalize. They become overly defensive. They feel like they need to fortify their defenses, and they can kind of implode inside, but they don't want the world to see that. Scorpio has that stinger on it, so their strategy is, I'm going to deal with my own emotions by masking it and just going on the offensive.
Sounds like my first ex-wife is a Scorpio, and that's exactly her. And holy crap, if it's all about her, it's nothing about anybody else, because she's got that stinger.
So, oh yeah. But with this, that being your north node, this saying like what your destiny is, it's basically saying you need to aggressively pursue those simple pleasures.
Okay.
Those things that truly bring you joy. Your life's purpose needs to be about finding that leisure, finding that pleasure, learning to appreciate the simple things. And then I think it was Charles Bukowski who best said this, like, find that thing that you love more than anything else in life and let it kill you.
Okay. So have fun, have a little bit more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of working all the time, have a little bit more fun.
Yeah. And with this, saying your south node is going to be the opposite. This is like where you've come from, the harsh lessons that you've had to learn. And Taurus is very much focused on, they don't want to move. They want their comforts. They want their luxury. They want to have the best of everything without having to lift a finger to get it. And with that being the south node, these are the lessons that you've had to learn or need to learn, things you need to get past. It's that expectation of being able to like have everything and be constantly comfortable and constantly surrounded in luxury and not having to like put forth the effort. And with that, Taurus is it's a low energy earth sign. So they're thought to be very stubborn, but the thing with Taurus is just they have less spoons there than I think any other sign does. So they have to be very careful about what they put their energy into. So, and with that, it's, very much the things that you need to let go of are that being able to say like, okay, well, I need this comfort. I need this luxury. Like, what do I need to feel safe and secure and stable? But like, I really don't have the spoons to put in the effort that I need in order to do that. So it's saying like the opposite of that, the Scorpio is these are the simple pleasures, the things that I love, and I am willing to attack and go on the offensive and put out every ounce of effort that I have in me in order to get these things.
Yeah, and I'm seeing what you mean, but I'm confused at the same time because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what it is that I've invested too much into with the Taurus sign that I need to let go of and have a little bit more fun with the Scorpio sign, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it very much comes back to that whole like live in the moment. And also don't get too stuck in comfort is the enemy. Comfort is complacency. It is getting stuck in that place of this is safe, this is stable, this is secure, but this is also not allowing any growth.
Okay, like just sitting at home when I get home from work, just sitting at home playing PlayStation and not going out and having fun.
Exactly. And this kind of goes back to some of the studies that I've been doing lately. And this guy that I was watching, he broke it down into 6 core things that he says like are killing the men of our generation. says number one is social media. It's like everybody is living their lives inside of the box. We're spending way too much time on social media. We're judging our lives by what we see of other people's lives on social media. And instead of going out and experiencing things and living life, we're just living life vicariously in the box. And that kind of goes into another thing that was on that list, which is video games. He says, and with this, this is the psychological thing is we have like our monkey brains. Like our brains really have not evolved that much in the last tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, evolutionarily, like our brains still operate on the same reward systems now that they did back tens of thousands of years ago when it was just hunter-gatherers with stone tools and whatnot.
Yeah.
So with that, video games tend to give people this false sense of accomplishment. It's, as men in particular, society has forced upon us this standard of we have to succeed, we have to produce, we have to, our entire worth is in what we're producing and the wealth that we have and what we're achieving.
Okay.
And being able to have these video games and these like reward systems within the video games and these accomplishments, this allows people to be able to fulfill those, the brain's need for those like reward things. But it's all arbitrary accomplishments that really don't amount to any hard physical actual gains.
I used to, back when I was younger, before I really got into smoking really bad, I used to ride bike all the time. And I see what you mean. Like, I need to let go of these simple pleasures of just relaxing and not doing anything and actually get back on my bike and actually ride like I used to.
Yeah, that's, I guess this goes back to what we were saying about that, your north node, what your true purpose is. That is aggressively pursuing those things that actually fulfill you, that actually give you pleasure.
Yeah, because you said even if it kills you, I'm like, I can't even get on a bike because I'm afraid it would kill me.
Yeah, get on that bike again. But the other things that they touched on, as far as the things that are killing the men of our generation, porn.
Okay.
It's like everybody has these like ideals about what love and sex is supposed to be, because realistically, most of us, I mean, especially living here in Utah, I grew up with abstinence-only sexual education. A lot of us, like for so many people, like porn is the only like sexual education that they have.
Yeah.
And not being able to separate that fantasy realm from the way that things actually are, this causes a lot of issues in regards to romance and intimacy and sex.
Yeah.
And
Women expect they don't expect it, but they want their men to be the big buff guys, and we want them to be Barbies, but that's not exactly the way it is because we don't exactly want that. That's just the perception that we want.
Well, exactly, but it goes a little bit further than that too, because there was also a study that came out that says that Generation Z now they are less engaged in relationships and they are having less sex than any of the previous generations.
Holy crap.
And, we can look at this one way and say, well, I mean, isn't this a good thing? I mean, this is the least promiscuous generation of the generations that exist. But we also, when we dig deep into it and see what's really going on here.
We're having sex with ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is, it's once again, it's the living in the box.
Yeah.
And we also see a lot of this, and it boggles my mind that we are so educated as far as relationships, personal interactions with people. Like anybody that you talk to things like, toxic behavior, gaslighting, narcissism. These are concepts that just about anybody you talk to will understand. I mean, 20 years ago, nobody knew what gaslighting was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows what gaslighting is, but everybody's still doing it anyway.
Yeah, and they seem like they know what gaslighting is, and everybody's gaslighting each other. Everybody's.
Oh, yeah.
It's even the non-narcissists are still gaslighting other other people all the time. It's ridiculous.
Well, anybody you run into in the dating world, chances are there is a very high percent chance they'll tell you that their ex was a gaslighter or a narcissist. There's a lot of people who are out there proclaiming people to be narcissists or gaslighters that have no clinical training or true understanding of it, but because it wasn't the outcome they wanted, they're now evil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Gary John Bishop talks a lot about this. He says people all the time come to him and they're like, "Well, my ex was a narcissist." And it's like, "Well, what does that mean exactly?" It's so easy to put a label on somebody, even when you don't fully understand the weight of that word. Like, that doesn't tell me who they actually are. That doesn't tell me what they did. Let's talk about what they actually did, how you responded to that, instead of trying to just slap the labels on this. But the point that I'm roundabout trying to get to with this is, with Gen Z opting out of relationships, opting out of just casual sex and things like that, they see all of this going on. And they see all of the failed relationships and the problems that from the fallout of failed relationships that the previous generations have had to deal with. And they're just saying, nope, it's easier just to stay home, watch porn and masturbate than to put ourselves out there and put ourselves at risk. We all come from broken families, broken homes. We've, parents that are divorced. We've seen people that we know have been absolutely financially crushed because of their relationships. And this is not a risk that we're willing to take.
And that's a lot of the reason. I mean, I went through a lot of that. I went through a lot of these bad relationships, I didn't even want to meet anybody. I'd much rather just watch porn type moments and stuff like that. And then I met my wife, and I'm completely happy with my wife, but I started these other chats because I wanted these other people to find what I have. But then I see all these other people that are so unhappy with themselves and so unhappy with who they are and what they're finding that nobody can find happiness regardless of what you do, because they're still stuck in online. They're still not out there meeting people, they're still stuck.
Yeah.
They're not doing the self work to find the happy place to
Yes.
accept a true happiness.
Yes.
Exactly.
I 100% agree with you.
It's all about, being able to live inside of that box. Social media, porn, video games. These are all things that allow people to stay in the box and not have to focus on what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix about myself to actually be able to have healthy social interactions, have a healthy social life, to be able to have healthy sex, healthy relationships, to be able to actually achieve and accomplish things. But then, the other three things that they had on the list were, things that aren't necessarily in the box. They're the things we all know about, making sure that you're staying on top of your sleep. How much actual sleep are you getting? Because there's such thing as sleep efficiency. Just because you're in bed for 8 hours doesn't necessarily mean you're actually getting 8 hours of sleep. Yep. Then diet and exercise.
Sorry.
So, well, let's be honest. None of us here are exactly
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I will own my shit here. These are three things that I'm trying to step to the plate with. My sleep is fucked. My diet is fucked. I've been trying to get on the wagon there as far as the exercise and getting moving again.
It's just really hard to get into a routine of actually exercising, because I keep telling myself that I need to get rid of this and I need to better myself, and it's just so hard to get yourself moving.
Oh yeah, but this is, once again, that goes back to what I was saying about those cortisol levels. When everything else is failing and you can't figure out how to get yourself out of the rut, if you can just start moving.
Yeah.
Just that little bit of exercise. Just nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you can just change that one little thing, just get up, go for a little bit of a walk or something like that. Just get that little bit of motion going. And that'll help bring those cortisol levels down a little bit. And then once it comes down that little bit, you're going to have a little bit more clarity to be able to put together a better game plan from there. But if everything else is failing, if you just start there,
Yeah.
that could be that thing that just knocks those levels down a little bit to give you that edge that you need to start climbing back up again.
Makes sense.
All right, back to the chart.
So So those are kind of in a nutshell things that kind of the big things, who you are at your core, how people perceive you, your moon sign, Leo. These are how you process things emotionally. And with your Venus and your moon being in Leo and both in the second house, there's a lot of pride there.
Yes.
And if somebody wants to get on your bad side, they fuck with your pride.
Yes. They start messing with who I am, putting me down, saying stuff like that, and yes, it gets on my bad side really fast.
So it's with that, I'd say almost there's probably like a hidden, like almost like a samurai code of honor there. It goes there. You don't fuck with your honor.
Yeah, and that's why I love Japanese culture, is because it's very much about honor. I don't know why I've always loved that, but I love that word honor because there is a code that you have to live by in order to make yourself happy.
So, and I think for our listeners, because they didn't get to see, I didn't know that you had that tattoo,
Oh.
but so what I'm looking at is it looks like, is that like Ganji or what is that exactly that we're looking at?
It is kind of ganji. It's something I got after my first marriage broke up, and it's everything you're supposed to have in a relationship, but I didn't have: love, power, happiness, respect, and honor.
That's interesting. So, but you see how that ties into that Leo moon.
Yes.
It is all of those things that you just listed there, that your Venus sign and your moon sign, love and emotions. That's all summed up by that tattoo that you've got on your arm.
Well, yeah, because with love you feel happiness. With happiness you feel power, and with that power you need to respect and honor that power, that power and the love and the happiness.
So exactly, it's kind of interesting how, but I didn't see that tattoo. Looking at that, like I don't speak Japanese. I had no idea what that would even mean looking at it.
Yeah.
So you see how that can tie into what we're saying here.
Never realized that until now. I've had that tattoo for 12 years.
So, but let's go into your Mars.
Okay.
Okay, Mars is in Aries. So Mars is going to be your passion, your drive, your ambition. And this is something that you probably need to be honoring a little bit more.
Okay.
Like, because with that being in Aries, like your passion, your drive, there's a lot of like energy there that, and this kind of ties back into what I was saying about your North Node, how you need to aggressively go after those things that truly bring you joy. And Aries is very go, 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 go. They are the initiators. Their whole purpose in this world is to start shit. They don't often get to see the end product of the things that they start, but they are here to get the ball rolling. And your Mars is in the 10th house. Now, once you get past the 6th house, you're into the things that are more visible. 10th house is entirely about your career and your status. And this is where that passion, that ambition, that drive is going to be most prevalent. And if you are not feeling fulfilled in your career,
This never have been. My biggest idol has been Tony Robbins. I love what he does. I love how he talks and motivates people and gets people to. No, I don't want his money. He does it for money. I want to help people. I want to make people's lives better. That's why I created the chats. That's why I write these poems that I write. That's why I write some of the stuff that I write, is because I want to help people, but I'm afraid that people look at me and like, oh my God, he's got so many problems himself that why should I listen to him? But that's my passion. I've been helped by so many people throughout my life that I want to give back, Tony Robbins, less, I can't remember his name right now. There's so many different people that I listen to all the time that's what I want to do.
So what you just said there, that touches on another thing that I've noticed in your chart. So Saturn is the planet of karma and timing. And this is this is another kind of dreaded planet. That this is the planet that will kick your ass whenever you're out of line. Your Saturn it's in Cancer. And so this is the lessons that this is trying to teach you, is that anytime you become overly defensive, when you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable, when you're not putting yourself out there, the universe is going to kick you in the ass. And your Saturn is square to your Mars. So this is saying that like overly defensiveness, that like wanting to hermit down, wanting to protect yourself, this is squaring off with where your drive and your ambition. And
That's when many people tell me I'm emotionally closed off.
Yep,
Because,
so if anything here, the chart is saying with that, like if you truly want to achieve, if you want to have a career that you feel fulfilled in, if you want to, you started this group chat. It's that Mars and Aries. You're a shit starter. You need to be starting shit and getting that snowball rolling down the hill. And as long as you've got that suit of armor on, like you're not going to be setting those things in motion that you need to be setting into motion.
and that's why I'm so nervous but excited at the same time. But I love what you guys are doing here, because you guys are doing what I want to do. And actually getting out and doing it is just, I'm so scared to do it. Does that
But
make
it's
sense?
the first step, man. This is
Yeah.
an awesome first step.
Yeah.
So I forget who it was that said, courage is not being afraid. Courage is being afraid, but fucking doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Being scared of failure and not doing something for the fear of failure is just as bad as never trying it, because in the end, you've already accomplished the failure.
Well, see, and that's been my problem my whole life, is the fear of failure, that I'm so afraid to fail that I won't start, because then I won't fail. But I'm actually failing because I'm not starting and I'm not doing.
So let's tackle that term failure. So we're talking about the fear of failure. And what we were saying, if you don't even try, you've failed already to begin with. But I think, and I partially blame like our public school systems for this fear of failure. That's, you go through life in early childhood and you're given like a letter grade on how you do in these
Yeah.
areas. And failure should not be something that, we're taught, you can't fail. Like failure is like the worst thing that you can do. Like all of life, like all of trying to figure things out and being able to like move forward and experiment and achieve these great things. Failure is necessary. And there was a summit one time where it was all of these people under the age of 35 that were millionaires. And they were talking about, what did you have to do in order to make your first million? And they asked the question, like, how many business failures did you have before you finally had the idea that made you your first million? You know what the average number was? 17 business failures. Like, how many people will go out there, and it's not just business, but I see this a lot with relationships. I've had the one relationship failure, so I'll never try again.
Yeah.
I've had the one business failure, so I'll never try again. They're saying these people that like made their first million before they were 35, they failed 17 times.
Yes.
And this is, I guess, one of my philosophies is the philosophy of fail faster. Kind of goes back to the whole like fuck around and find out. It's the more that you put yourself out there, the more that you try, and the more that you fail, and the faster that you can realize, hey, this isn't working. Like this thing here isn't working. I'm not going to like stubbornly stick to this. Like, can this be changed? Can this be modified? Can this be improved? If not, then it needs to be scrapped and on to the next thing. The more that you allow yourself to experience those failures and not see the failure as a bad thing, but as a learning experience. Like failure is the path to growth.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had a few different chats that have failed. you know, but I didn't give up. I keep going. I keep trying, keep getting different ideas, different thoughts, different ways to get it going. Sometimes I feel like the singles chat is starting to slow down, starting to fail. And it's probably just the time of year right now, but I so wanted to give up on it, but then I see people start talking again and start communicating. I'm like, okay, it's still going, let's keep it going. Don't give up on it. Keep going, keep moving forward, keep pushing it, you know?
Yeah, but when you see like something's not working, we can just say like, okay, well, I mean, this is, it's obviously a failure. I'm not going to try again. Like, or you can see, okay, yeah, this one thing is failing. How do we quickly pivot? Like, what can we do to change this?
My dad has a 75 Dodge Power Wagon. It fails a lot with how old it is, but he doesn't give up on it. He keeps fixing it a different way to make it work the right way. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, like, and my dad, he's the same way. Like, all of the vehicles that he's owned, like, I don't think my entire life, my dad has ever had a vehicle that he's made payments on. But every vehicle that he's ever owned has made it close to the 400,000 mile mark before, because he just puts in the work.
Yeah.
He is, okay, yeah, this fundamental thing has failed. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to fix it.
Yes.
Like, and every vehicle he's ever owned has made it close to that 400,000 mile mark before it finally dies.
And that's where a lot of our generation is lost, because we got all these computerized cars now that we can't just go out there and tinker with, because you have to have a computer to do it.
Oh yeah, and I think Bishop, being the car guy here, he probably has a lot to say in that matter. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's another topic entirely, how cars are becoming more computer than car anymore. But
They're harder to fix now than they were back then, for the simple reason that just because it tells you X, Y, and Z has failed, it doesn't mean X, Y, and Z has failed. It just means the information it's gotten is wrong, and you have to find out what's really wrong with
Yep.
it.
like, but it is a matter of, okay, well, let's take a car, something as simple as a car, into the equation. We see this one component has failed. Like, if we just decide we're going to just keep going and not address that failure, what else is...
It's going to build up. It's going to create more problems, more issues. Instead of going and fixing that original problem, it's going to cause a bigger explosion.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to the water signs and what we were saying, your north node, and the difference between, the Pisces mentality. And this is what, we're kind of making allegory here, because this is all of the realm of emotions. The Pisces mentality. Like, we're just going to keep going down the road. Like, we're going to, okay, yeah, this thing has failed here, but we're just going to keep going. Try to, like, think about other things, find some sort of distraction to not deal with the issue.
Yeah.
The Cancer mentality. Well, that one, the tire's flat. I'm just not going to drive the car anymore. Like, or the Scorpio mentality, which is, okay, well, the tire's flat, so I'm going to change the tire. But you know what? Like, I'm going to change the goddamn oil. I'm going to, get the damn thing detailed. Like, I am going to attack this any which way that I can in order to try to prevent any future failures.
Yes. But you still got to keep going, even though, and expect failure as you're moving forward, because one day it could be working just great, and the next day something's going, so.
Yeah, and I guess, this is ultimately the kind of the, I don't want to say the failure. Well, no, let's say, we'll use failure, because we're saying, like, failure is not a bad term. So this is the failure with the Scorpio mentality. It'll be like, I fixed the flat tire. I changed the oil. I got the car detailed. What do you mean the transmission has failed?
Yeah.
I gave you a vegetable and water yesterday. How dare you get sick on me, human body?
Exactly.
Right.
All right. Shall we wrap up the natal chart there, GF?
So, oh yeah, I mean, and with the natal chart, I mean, we can always go, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But with that is the more that you study your natal chart, because, I mean, even now, all of these years later, every time that I go into my natal chart, like I see something else I didn't catch before. I learned something more about myself. It is a rabbit hole. You could probably go your entire life and not fully understand every aspect of everything that's on there.
Yeah.
But the more you become familiar with it, the more that you study it, the more that you will learn more about yourself. And you'll see, yeah, astrology, it is a lot more than just, well, I'm just a Gemini. That's just one very small part of the makeup of what makes you you.
Yes, makes sense. And just listening to this gives me ideas of what I need to do with myself instead of just doing nothing.
But, well, if you took something useful out of all of my rambling and blabbering, then my job has been done.
I'm going to call this episode Jeff's Big Ass Ramble. Is there anything else we should go over on that natal chart there, Jeff?
I think I will hand it over to you at this point. Say astrocharts.com is where I went to look up the information. You've got my contact information, so I mean, if you ever want to discuss anything that you see on that chart, you want to go into it further or anything like that,
Definitely have to go look at it more.
my inbox is always open.
Okay.
So Jeff is a professional wizard. His services are available for hire. He isn't just a free voice on the podcast. So if you want a natal chart read, if you want a one hell of a tarot reading, if you want to go into the deep dark places with the cards and get a little extra weird, Jeff is available for these services.
Yep, exactly. So you can just find me just by Googling Jeffrey Moyer Wizard. Like, I'm all over the place, although been less active the last few months as I've kind of gone into shutdown mode to learn new things and enhance my abilities. But you'll find me. My inbox is always open.
If you can't find him, most of you know where to find me. So that being said, AJ, what do you think of this experience?
This has been amazing. It's makes me appreciate who I am and also make me want to kick myself in the ass because I need to do more.
Well, Jeff, we certainly appreciate you putting that all together for us. And at this point, we're going to wrap up this episode, probably take a quick stretch break, and then we're going to dive into AJ's Tower.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Big Ass Ramble, everybody, and we will be back with you with a real episode coming soon. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Like and subscribe.